Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you're viewing this. I am Chadstick, and this is another 5-way free-for-all battle report from Supreme Commander. A couple of comments about the last one. People wanted to see a little more detail about people's builds and things, so we'll see what we can do. Same players as before, myself in red this time, playing Seraphim, and then we've got scores are switching around. We'll just do it this way. Dinky Pie in yellow, as ever, playing as Cybran today. Midge sticking with his UEF in blue. Mike sticking with his Aeon in green. And Dacian going Aeon this time with grey. May have been Aeon last time before. No, he was Cybran before. So, pretty spicy start for everybody except me, being late into those triple digits. Why are we doing that, you say? Because I didn't build a factory first. I built a metal extractor. Once people's bases are a bit more set up, we'll have a look at what they're building. We've got our 10-minute no rush on there again for the safe or keeping and peace of mind of literally everybody except me. This game, I decided I was going to try harder than I did before, and actually try to achieve something rather than sitting in my corner waiting to be killed. At least that's how I felt at the end of the last game, when I realised what kind of position I was in. I think we all sort of had, apart from maybe Midge, a bit of a drive to do better this time. Now let's slow this down just while I talk about this map. I forgot the name of it because I'm really good at these replays, but I'll find out and I'll put it in the comments or maybe the description. This is a tiered map, and there are a couple of bad start positions, and I'll explain which ones they are and why. There are 3 of them. This empty one up here, this one down here with Dinky Pie, and this one with Dacian. And it comes down to contours and tiering. You'll notice that these are in divots, trenches, all along the middle. That's not good, because you can just rain down firepower from units up here, down on the things below, and the line of fire in the return is not as good due to how elevation works with direct fire weapons. So that's not great for either Dinky or Dacian. Then there's my one over here, which is slightly more secluded, but I'm not attackers, well, unless they come round from behind up here. That's my only uphill defence point. And then this is all flat ground, with raised ridges that people can come up and pound my base down with. And then there's this flat ground up around here. There's a bit of a divot there, or a ridge rather. But I do have this quite nice defensive ridge outcrop here over these 2 metal points. So overall I'd say it's probably a 5 out of 10 compared with the 2 out of 10 for these ones. Their only advantage that you could argue is potential proximity to more metal extraction points. Then you've got Midge and Mike. Midge is in a similar one to myself. He's got this ridge here, which is very defensive. It's quite nice. This raised bit at the back of his base. He's got some outcrops here that he can build on for elevation if he wants to turtle up, which he probably will, because that's what Midge likes to do. So that's not bad. That's pretty good. He's got a lot of downward sloping here, like very nice for defensive. And Mike arguably has the best situation because he's got that strong defensive ridge, downhill defense there, nice outcrop, good little outcrop, very good for defending, and like you're going uphill all the way into his base. So immediately some of us have better positions, some of us have worse, remembering that we still have the inability to go outside our circle. Yeah, I want to talk about my circle actually. I have a look at everybody else's. That doesn't look centered on my base at all. Like if it was up here I could get to this and this in the start time, but I can't because it's down here, and part of my start base is this impossible to access water, which we'll talk about later. If we look at Midge's, he also is set back and he can't get to this outcrop here, sorry, this metal extraction point here. Now this start position has quite a lot of metal extractors in it, so that's an advantage to the lower depression there. If If we have a look at Dinky Pie, he's not got that. You can get close to these ones, but that's awfully close to my start position. And it's not quite as good as this up here. This is really good. Mike's equally, same as Midge, same as myself, setback. It's not great. Doesn't feel good. So it's a bit strange how those start positions and the no rush boundaries are placed, but yeah, so I think that would leave Dinky in the worst start position, simply because Daisyon has all of these metal extraction points to make him very, very rich. Nice kickstart to his economy. Now, scores on the doors. Slow down even more here. In fact, no, we won't. We'll let it get to 1,000 points, then we'll have a look at people's bases, see what we've got there going on. Unlike previous games, I I had a clear plan going into this one with what I wanted to do, and basically my entire strategy was to build into that. I don't know how other people felt. I think Midge similarly and Mike similarly had the same sort of plan. Dinky has a base set up. I didn't really speak to Daisyon much about his plan, but he does power through a couple of bad spots. So here we are, getting through to the 3-4 minute mark, and we're all nearly on 1,000 points. There we go. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So let's start with we'll start with Midge. So he's got one factory, got a second, building a third and a fourth, going power there. Probably not great for economy, I would wager. He's actually good. Bit on the edge of metal there, but that's still fine. Is he building this? Not yet. So that metal's going to go when he starts building that extractor. But getting his production out early, clearly pushing forwards to be an aggressive presence, have probably a defensive lineup more than an aggressive force initially. So Mike here has got a fair amount of metal stored, but he's got a lot of people doing nothing. He's building an air factory. We'll notice that Midge just had ground factories, I think. Yeah, they're all land factories that he's built. So Mike's economy probably slightly worse, and I'm saying this because if these are all they can't be all idle. That must be wrong. It's wrong. But so ignore them. That's probably overall. And knowing me is my commander. So yeah, fewer factories. He's already got that power plant up though, and he's got this nice symbiotic setup for those. He's building his last metal extractor there, so that looks quite nice. Let's look at Dinky, who's slipped down the charts. One land factory at the moment, probably contributing to why everybody has leapfrogged him, but he's setting up this ring already of anti-air turrets. And that's going to probably go all the way around his base. Very nice protection against any early air bombardment, which is all terrifying. Also notice his economy is pretty good. We saw a plus 45 there for a moment, although that might go downhill when we start seeing that turret going up. Mike has jumped the positions a bit here. Daisyon has 2 land factories already, getting his power plant, building some symbiotic points. This is a really nice trick. I like building my factories next to the metal extractors for the symbiotic assistance with lowering their mass. He's forcing through that tier 2 mass extractor, which is something I'm a fan of. When you've got no economy, just pile on engineers for the tiny amount of extra stuff they get. 2 factories at the moment, third queued. He's not gone out here yet. He's got he's got a fair number of engineers, so he could come out here quite quickly, but to do so you have to go the long way around, so that's maybe not quite as good. You'd have to send an engineer early to really take advantage of that. Then my base, yes, I've leapt into first, but I'm not sure really how. I don't have my hydrogen power plant, don't have a massive amount of metal extractors. I've got 1 factory. Is it tier 2? No, it's tier 1. I'm building a second, but what I have done, nope, haven't done it yet. I haven't forced through my metal extractors. So it's probably these air scouts, the military score. And I wanted them out so I could pitch around and see who or what I should be scouting out and dealing with. My economy in tatters. Let's not talk about it too much. Yeah. So it's definitely those military points. Now let's go back here. Because in that few minutes, Mike has jumped up the charts from somewhere near the bottom to somewhere near the top. Midge has stayed in his position. Dinky and Dicey and toying about there. So we're going back to 0. Now my strategy... Oh, we've got an air factory up here now as well. Oh, they all look the same. Pardon me. So he was building 2 air factories, 2 land factories. I think for Midge that's a pretty standard tactic. It's pretty solid. Gives you a lot of defensive flexibility and capability to deal with things. You will notice my complete absence of a land factory. And I have previously noted that air factories are the second slowest factory to produce their engineers. Land factories being the fastest for the same economic cost. So overall, it takes more material to produce them from air factories. Naval factories are obviously the slowest because, well, I say obviously, if you haven't played, it's not obvious. Naval factories are the slowest. Oh, Dinky Pie leaping into first there with a fair score. Mike also doing the same. Let's have a quick look there. We'll see before we go that Dicey is sending engineers around now for those points. So what have we got to bump this up? Some mash storage, pumping that mash extractor, which is upgrading to 2. Very nice. Got a radar, is that? Yeah. Yeah, symbiotic with the power plant. Nice trick. Brings that down to a very affordable 17. Still building these anti-air turrets. He's only got 1 factory. Did he upgrade his commander? Let's have a look. No, he's not. Nice, nanite torpedoes. Didn't know you could get that. Not relevant on this map, so I won't talk about it much. But commander upgrades are something that I have discussed with people. It's probably that radar, you know. Factory's idle, but interesting. So we're now halfway through the points, and the scores have shifted. I've dropped down, but again, that's because my economy's terrible. I think I've started sending my units off to go and reclaim nearby material. Mike building some anti-air fighters, looking for getting a screen up, I imagine. Dacione appears to have stalled a bit, but is that because he's being... Yeah, like he's still getting this Tech 2 metal extractor. It's taken about 2 minutes thus far. Which really rams home how ineffective that can be. Maybe I'll have to change my tactics next time. And then Midge here, not great on score, but comfortable in his production. Just getting out a basic amount of power and things. But he too has hit metal. Now, we're just going to do a quick round the clock thing. Mike, positive for metal. Dinky, suffering for metal. Myself, suffering for metal. Midge, suffering for metal. And Dacione suffering for metal. So apart from Mike, we're all suffering pretty heavily there. That's not great play. But hey, maybe we'll improve. Who knows? So Mike's starting his anti-air screen. My factory's sitting idle. Dacione factory's working, but... Oh, he's teching up 1 land factory. I like that. An early tech up. Always a fan. Mike's sitting... Oh no, air factory building those anti-air fighters. What do we got? Teching up the air there. Teching up air is so important, because even if you're only producing Tech 1 fighters, you get them out faster, and it's really important. Cost more metal per second, because that's how they work. But, yeah, and it gives you access to the Tech 2 air superiority fighters, which mean Tech 1 bombers cannot harm you. Dinky not really bothered by Tech 1 bombers. Halfway through his ring of anti-air turrets now. Still got another 4 minutes. Sitting pretty comfortable. Mike's now started producing land units. Let me amend that. Mike has produced a land unit. Which is looking quite lonely as a little patrol guardian there. But maybe he's looking just to wait. And hopefully reinforces that later. So Midge now has got all of his factories up. That one's taking up, but the rest are sitting idle. Dacione is 1 Aurora light tank again. Now I want to talk about the Aurora light tanks. They are probably best in class for light tanks, and they have a high damage per shot. Not so much DPS, but their Alpha Strike, if you like, is more powerful and can one-shot a lot of Tech 1 things. So they trade very well early on, and that's a theme for the Aeon, in fact. So we're teching up here, both of them. Told you, don't like Tech 1 air factories. Are tragic for metal, but you know who really cares? I'm trying to balance that. If we go down and watch by the building them up as well. What about this one? That's already Tech 2, but you'll notice that I have taken all of the rocks around there for reclamation, and I think that's what a lot of people would have been doing. I know Dinky was doing it earlier there. This is a pretty stark base. I don't know how it looked originally. You'll have to rewind the video. Sorry everyone, but it's clearly come down. He's paused his land factory in the middle of producing more units for resource reasons. Mike has got a Tech 2 mass extractor, two Tech 2 mass extractors. Not put his factories next to them. I mean, it's a fairly small gain with level 1 extractors, but later on it can really be a big deal. Dinky, yeah, still on his Tech 1s. Oh no, he's taking up this one. That's nice, that's nice. Building mass storage around them. He likes to do that, so when they're Tech 3 they produce a little bit more. What have we got over here? Still Tech 1, Tech 1. A third land factory, looking to churn out those units early on. Coming up to the end of our peace period. I have to say it's really tense. Like, you can hear we're all joking around and stuff, but there's a lot of fear. Again, we're all in Discord at this point, trash talking and banterizing. There is a lot of background tension and fear because no one really knows what anybody else is doing, how well anybody else is doing, and whether or not you're really ready to deal with it. I can tell you, just looking at this screen zoomed out, none of the Dinky's prepared on one side, and he's starting to close that circle a bit just to cut down on the number of turrets he needs, which is probably good. Air is basically the only thing that's going to hit you early after the no rush period. But none of us really have much of a defence. Mike's Tech 1 unit. He's got his fighters again, anti-air defence, but it's not great. I've got sweet FA. Those 5 air scouts are going to mean nothing. I've got some Tech 2 engineers out though. Look at that, churning them out, loving it. Not really sure where they're going at the moment. Well, I am because I played the game, and so are several of my opponents. But you viewers may be surprised, impressed, or entirely disappointed. We'll see. Tech 2 engineer here, getting point defence out early. That's probably not going to be ready in a minute, but it's going to be ready by the time any land units get there. And like a single Tech 2 tower can see off most Tech 1 rushers. Like 10 or 15 Tech 1 units are not going to deal with that. But no defences here from Midge. The other thing is we don't know where anybody else is. So we don't know who our neighbours are. And that can make people quite uncomfortable. This is actually a 6-player map rather than a 5-player one. And the positions are the same. Or at least the same adjacent neighbours, besides Midge and Mike, who have this gap between them. So yeah, that worked down as a nice bit of consistency. Have I timed this well? Let's find out. Where's my circle? Oh, it's all in the circle, so I don't even have to time it. So I've taken these 2 Tech 2 engineers back here with my commander. Right, no rush time elapsed. Where did these bombers come from? The Tech 2 factory is producing Tech 1 units. Because delaying the construction of your rush is fine. Like, the economics part is the bit you need. I have nothing defensive. Although he's building anti-air turrets. It's a bit delayed. He's building... I think they're going to be point defences. But if someone had a rush, then it would be dealt with fairly easily. Now, Dinky's got 10 anti-air... Sky Slammers, what a name! 10 anti-air tanks around his commander. That means that he... Not only is his base safe, but his commander can wander off and do a few things safe from being attacked. Now, as soon as the no rush goes down, I'm out here. Mike's off as well. I haven't built some walls. I don't know how I feel about walls, but obviously Dinky likes them too. I've seen them be quite useful, but... So, I'm first to scout. Look at this. It's going to be a fantastic display of why Tech 1 Air is terrible. Because that's 5 Tech 1 scouts against, well, quite an overwhelming amount of Tech 1 air defense, but they're gone. And all I know from that scout is that I cannot go to my east. I cannot send my Tech 1 bombers over in that direction. And I have a moment of doubt, like, ooh, can I send my Tech 1 bombers at all? Because if that's the situation there, whoever's to my north, have they done the same thing? What did I get for scouting? Oh, I got a little bit. I know there's some stuff up here as well. But what I know mostly from that is that I do not want to go that way. Now, instead of sending a bunch of Tech 1 scout planes, Midge has sent a Tech 2 fighter bomber, which is somewhat more threatening, although I still have trouble getting them to work. We can see a demonstration of that later. So he scouts that base. Dacian getting a Tech 2 power generator up. He's getting another point defense up. He's still got that one light tank. This is producing again, but it's now engineers. His factories are tier 2. He's in a fairly good... In fact, let's slow it down. He's in a fairly good situation, it looks like, production-wise. But let's have a look at... Yeah, resources are terrible. Even though he's got these extra metal points, he's finally got over here to get them. Building some defences at that. That's worth defending, because it is 2 mass extraction points. Let's... Talked a lot about my base, but I think Midge is about to fly over it now anyway. Not yet. So there are a lot of bombers there. Because you don't do things by halves. But this party has started building a power generator out back. Because that's going to get scouted. What we know from the map, as well as where the mass points are. There are no mass points here, so it's quite a nice little place to hide. Going around the circle now. Dinky... Got a Tech 2 engineer, he's building a little way through there, a little funnel. Nothing aggressive, very defensive. Looks to be in quite a good place to defend from air, but a couple of land units roll in, like 5 Tech 2s. Are probably going to die to his commander. 10 might be a bit more of a worry. He's still only got the 1 factory. It is Tech 2, but 1 factory means your ability to respond is limited. Mike, on the other hand, has got a 3rd factory now, a 2nd air one. Built some more anti-air defence. Metalled up around there, more air defence. Mike appears to prefer little hard points than rings of air defence. I'm more of a ring fan myself. He's expanded out this defensive line. He's got very little metal, and it looks like he's not comfortable pushing through that. Got some Tech 2 units there though, that's not terrible. No, that's the wrong person. I'm going to Midge. Just he flies over my base. So we'll get there in a moment. Resources tragic, like most of us. Now land factory's there, he's building a fusion reactor to try to get the power up, not that he needs it. This is what I don't like about Tech 2. The fusion reactor seems very good, but it's There's no like the metal makers produce 1 metal for 150 energy, and those tier 2 power plants only produce 300 energy. So out of that little hub, you can essentially make 2 metal. So this is the tier 2, and I remember Midge saying, "Oh gosh!" But now that he scouted it, like I'm taking off. I know I have to start moving. What's that? That's a Tech 2 artillery. He's not going to take that out very quickly. He's going to have seen all of that, so I have to make a move. Which brings us quite nicely... Oh, we did Dacian first. This is, I think, another scout. Oh, this is one of Mike's scouts. So, basically, I don't know for sure who that has gone over, that scout. And I think if Midge has seen that, and if Midge is to my north... I need to act now with these bombers before he can respond. And had it been Midge's base, let's have a look at the glorious anti-air potential it's got here. 0. Like, this is a base that I can come in, I can wreck that power, I can threaten this power plant when it's up, and that's volatile, although there's nothing near it. He's been quite wise there. Metal extractors, that is a very fragile base for an early air rush. So, had I been able to hit Midge, it would have been better. As it is, it's coming in over Dacian. He's got he's got one anti turret. It's level 2, which is probably going to wreck my stuff. But we'll see how it goes. Now, I've waited for what looks like 20 of these guys. They do 250 damage a drop if they hit. So 20 times 250 is 5,000. That means it requires 3 passes for me to kill his commander. Now I swing in here. This is the first aggression of the game, unless you want to account shooting at scouts and stuff. I mean, I think said this was a declaration of war when my air scouts died. It's not, is it? Let's be honest with ourselves. It was my air scouts dying. So we'll turn this back up to normal speed, because I fly in here. I don't really know what to expect. I'm losing bombers already to the Tech 2 air defense, but I've identified his commander, so I'd give it a pass. That didn't really do the promised 5,000 damage, did it? Because they're dying, some of them missed. So I changed my tack, and I decided to target other things. Namely, this metal extractor here. Well, mainly resources. Spoilers, that turns into not an assassination, but a raid. That one tier 2 anti-air flak artillery trying its damnedest to defend the base, but even though it's pretty good at eliminating the tier 1 bombers, it's not up to scratch. What I should have done is pulled away from it anyway. I should have started swinging at these two, but I close in on this one. I don't think I get it, but that sets Dacian back quite substantially. That is 2 Tech 2 metal generators, if I get that. You know, I don't think I will. Nah, maybe I will. Not this pass. Oh, do I? Oh, what a hero he does. So 2 Tech 2 metal extractors, 15 minutes in. That's a lot of metal. The attempt at scouting is put to rest there quite quickly. Now Midge is expanding out, you can see. So that's pretty good. And that for me was validated. There's a shield generator that went up here. Too late to cover the metal extractor, well, not close enough to the metal extractors anyway, but too late to help against the bombing run. I'm already preparing another one, but it's an outmoded form of attack now, I feel. Because by the time I've got another 20, he's going to have at least 2 other turrets. But I am going to Tech 3, which is important. And this power generator is sitting by itself. 500, so you can support 3 metal extractors off it. Maybe 4 with a discount. I don't swear to that though. So Mike's at the top again. I'm very close behind. I don't really know why. I think I've just got... It's the military units. I think I've got kill points, perhaps. Mike has a very stable looking base here. And he knows that there's no one here. So he knows he's got this time buffer. What he really needs is a radar. What we all really need is radar. But none of us are building it because we're not very smart, I guess. I don't know. But if Mike knows that that's empty, building a radar somewhere near these turrets, perhaps, so it's defended a bit, will give him a little bit of forewarning about stuff that does come. But he knows that this is the place that's likely to threaten. He's got such a raised position down here on Dinky, though. Like, I mean, we talked about it after the game. During the game, in fact, Midge said that Dinky was in the worst position. And, yeah, from my commentary, I think you can tell that I agree. Like, if these 5 Tech 2 units just came and sat here on this hill, then you could quite easily harass that base. And I'm just going to slow it down and go to Dinky, because I like the idea. I'm going to go to Dinky, he says to the computer's interface. Yeah, I want to... So those 5 units that Mike has are just outside of radar range. So if they come down, if they all come down, it would have been beautiful for the video purposes. Not so much for Dinky, but it would have probably given Mike the same sort of validation I got from early bombing this base as Dacian took me out last game. I know Dinky didn't take out Mike, but he did basically all of the hard work, and I mean all of the hard work. Killing a commander by itself when you're at Tech 3 is not a triumph, especially when you've definitely got the only factories on the map. So if Midge wants to say he did the hard work there, I hope people call him on it. On the note of Midge, he is less than half Mike's score. Let's have a look at what's going on in his base, shall we? Listen. Oh, so I'm going on a raid here. Let's do this. This is more interesting. Because there are 2 metal extractors over here, so I wanted to see what it was like. Harass Dacian down a bit more, because obviously he'll want some revenge for what I did to him. And that's understandable, justifiable, but completely unacceptable as far as my victory conditions go. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to try to get rid of these Tech 1 mass extractors. That thick slope protecting it from that bombing run, that's very frustrating, but good to know for future reference, so I can aim my bombing runs. I'm building a wall. Don't know why, it's probably not a great idea. Now, thanks to the bombers being a bit retarded, I discovered that there is a little more air defence over in that base now. Definitely reinforced my idea that I don't want to go in. So we're just going to take those 2 Tech 2 extractors. Dinky's getting a couple of bombers up as well, but let's go and have a look at Midge's base and compare it to Mike's. Just let's find out why. So this is Midge's map control. He's got some good extraction expansion over here compared with Mike. He's got a fair amount, but like Mike knows this is empty. He just needs, like these 2 especially. There's these here, but they're threatened. Although for Dinky to get to them, he has to go all the way around. Again, it's not a great situation. And we know he couldn't get to them in his start bubble. So this is a very powerful position, and Mike should just, like, 1, 2, 3. That's another, even if you just leave them at Tech 1. Whoop, that's another 6 metal per second. Doesn't solve this problem, but it certainly helps. So, even with Midge's resource expansion, and Midge knows as well that there's someone over here, so these are threatened, and I think they're still worth risking, just putting down on Tech 1 to see how long they pump out for, but yeah, he's expanding this way. Apparently pretty confident that Mike's not going to challenge him for it. Well, he knows this is an empty base, so worst that happens is he finds another engineer, probably. But he's not got any military units, he's not got any anti-air. He later said that if anyone had hit him at any point in this game, he would have been out. And we can see why. Like, 5 factories, only 3 of which are building stuff. He's building the anti-air finally. I believe those are fighters that he's building this. It won't let me check. That's unusual. Oh, he's upgrading that to tier 2. Midge is a big fan of his land rushes, and I can understand why. I'm that sort of general too. Now, going back to normal speed, this attack is still going on. Just frustrating the resource generation there. My bomber's displaying a complete ineptitude and hitting miles away from the metal extractor, but never mind, that's fine. I don't like flying my bombers around. Oh dear, look, there's a lot of anti-air there. We've got some tier 2 tanks. Oh, heavy tanks. Now they're a very nice assault unit. They punch above their weight. Yeah, I wanted these metal extractors. So I sent my commander down somewhat foolishly to do it. And you'll notice that my fighter protection is non-existent. I had a gunship that could have come down and done it instead. But I spitefully sent my commander because he wasn't building anything. And now he gets bombed. Much more effectively than my bombers were doing it. And much further. That's not part of the overarching strategy that I had, by the way, to win this game. So, I like the cyber bombers, that cluster. There was some debate about whether or not those bombers were going to knock me out. And you'll notice after the first 3, Dinky sent a few more. Just to try to seal the deal. And he's got me down to half-life. That's not a comfortable place to be when you're still miles from your base. My trusty 1 anti-air thing that's in range comes to my rescue-ish. My commander's still hobbling through. getting my gunship to come down over here. Now Dinky has seen that I've got my anti-air going along, and he doesn't want to risk his anti-air. He doesn't send any more bombers. This is opportunistic. If it works, it works. If not, it's a fairly small loss. And I think he wrote it off as soon as my fighters turned up, which is probably a fair decision, because Take 1 bombers are basically garbage. So yeah, now my commander's in a bit of a rough spot, and I have to be very delicate with him. Do I have a Tech 3 engineer out? Not yet, but I'm building one. Then, so he does wait for a few more bombers. He has some anti-air fighters in there. I target them first, just to eliminate the possibility of... Oh no, I don't. I desperately try to kill the bombers so that my commander doesn't die. It's close! 3,000 hit points. That's a very uncomfortable place for a commander to be. So I do take all of them out, somewhat predictably. It was an opportunistic strike. If he'd done it, it would have been a great success. Now, let's talk about this turret line. That's a pretty solid turret line. But if he's got his radar up, so let's have a look at him. And he knows that people can't come down that ridge, because it's just too steep. Hoverbots can't make it. Nothing can climb down there. So let's click on this radar. That radar's detecting all the way up there, and those turrets have range over this. I'm pointing. I literally pointed at the screen over this ridge, like with my finger. That was so Luddite. So if you approach from this ridge, the turrets will fire, but they won't hit anything. So you can come around here, and you've got a little bit of added protection to defy their range. On the flip side, I think artillery will arc over that to hit the turrets if they're in range. So it's not great, but he's identified this is safe. No land units coming this way. He's just had a wash over my base, and he's like, "Oh, Chad, you've got no land factories." And I shut up, don't tell anyone. I don't, as we've seen. So this is a bit more. There's like up to 3 other unknown players to his north, so he's built this turret line. And it's pretty good, you know, that'll stop off most rushes. It's not a you shall not pass line, but it's a don't come this way line. But the big way into his base is here, and air transports can't get in, so you'd have to do something pretty clever to get into that base in a conventional sense. A coordinated or large enough Tech 2 air rush would probably get into that base. He's got some... Nah, I think those ground units get wiped out pretty quickly. Like, a single bomb will take those out. So, like, high air power is all he's worried about. And why am I clicking me? I need observer. Is all Dinky's worried about at this point. Gonna have a look at the mass again. Mike's expanded out here. He's got that. I've expanded out to here. I sent one, like, Tech 1 engineer with a brave face to go out, and I immediately upgraded them. I think I'm doing rubbish for metal. No, I'm doing fine for metal, but I'm doing rubbish for energy. I even built Tech 2 mass generators this game. That's how sad it got. Although I'll explain how and why later on. Got Tech 3 engineer there, that's nice. But yeah, so I've expanded out. I'm upgrading these metal extractors. I'm challenging this point. Mike's expanding down here, finally. Because I don't know if he realised that Dinky couldn't get up, but it doesn't matter, Dinky can't get up. So he's expanded here, so he's pushing out his resource gain a little bit more. I'm top of the score, goodness knows what. I think it's because I'm in Tech 3, like comfortably in Tech 3. I've started building a fusion reactor at this point, I think. Mike's just given away all of the pretense that he might be able to balance his economy at this point. Dinky's pretty balanced, he's got a good production queue, but he is hemmed in quite tightly, so he's going to have to do something pretty drastic to break out of that. Should have gone round to the circle, sorry everybody. Over here, still rebuilding these mass extractors. We can see these two are still only Tech 1. Like, Dysian's been hit back there quite hard. Got some Tech 2 units coming up. He can see this with his radar there. Or he might have scouted that earlier with something with radar. But again, it's fairly tight base, and that's that bad start position again. There's no easy way to grab these extractors, and there's no easy way to refresh them if they're taken out. And he knows that I've gone air, so this ridge is no longer the natural defence that he was hoping was. And even if it was, like, Tech 1 artillery on this line could do a number on his base. I sound like I'm really clever, but in game I was like, must build more bombers. So as far as Midge knows, this is all I've got of my base, and this has gone dark for some strange reason. Because it's upgraded to Tech 3. So it looks like it's been destroyed. But it hasn't. His resources are bad, despite this expansion outwards here. Not that many Tech 2 mass generators, which I think would be the cause of that. Oh no, maybe he's got... Yeah, he's got a fair amount. So he's expanding that, and he's just balanced it, the +1 of dreams. So despite some early aggression, we're all kind of still slowly expanding. It is only 20 minutes in. God, this video is going to be much longer than the last one. But people asked for more detailed commentary, so that's what they're getting. Midge has got some of that anti-air defence up now, and it's pretty good. Like, Tech 2 fighters are pretty good at killing Tech 2 stuff. Like, anything anti-air threatens air, like, overwhelmingly threatens air of its same tier. So you don't need as many as all that. Dinky's still got these Tech 1 bombers floating about his base, and they're no longer relevant. I'm building gunships in favour of Tech 1 bombers because I find them better for hit and runs. They have a less wide ring of attack. Mike's sending out another little scout there just to see what's what. In fact, I think Mike will have now scouted a single mass extractor. What a shame. Because if we look at the map, there's like 6 up here? Yeah, 6 undefended mass extractors that are quite far from Midge's base. So if he got that engineer with all of his non-existent bombing power, if I'm honest. Oh no, he's got some. What am I talking about? This. So those bombers could easily come up here, ruin this. It's got like +8 metal there, plus 12 metal. What's Midge's economy like quickly? Yeah, if he hits that +8, he's balanced. If he hits another one, it's gone. But he hasn't seen it. He's just seen that one. This is the importance of those forward radar stations that we saw from Dacian. I don't think anyone else. Let's slow it down as we have a look for radar. Well, we know Dinky. Oh, that's been upgraded to a Tech 2 now. So let's... going on an attack run here. Let's get some action here. It's not going to be that exciting, but it is hitting Mike's metal production, which is quite important. Does he come back to kill that? Or does he not bother? Does he go hunting metal? No, he goes hunting metal. Oh no, they're circling round. That, by the way, is going to be a declaration of war. And all the excuse Mike needs to justify the fact that these bombers were already on their way. Oh, so much going on again. Let's slow it down. So, while Dinky's raiding here, removing defences, and then he's probably going to send those bombers up along there. That's what Tech 1 bombers are good for, raiding those little points. We've got Mike's bombers coming in here with some tier 2 ground units ready to move in if he senses weakness. I've started coming in here. I want to take out yet more of poor Dacian's economy. Like, they're Tech 1. These are upgrading to Tech 2, but that means... Oh, this one's Tech 1, but that's off while it's upgrading. So I'm here slamming the air defences, which leaves my gunships to pretty safely take out those turrets. You can see here that, like, the Tech 1 air defence is just not up to scratch. So these bombs have now landed. They weren't set on a patrol route, which is a shame. And now Mike's going to try to get into this very well anti-air defended base. He's thrown up some tier 2 anti-air as well. He's expanded this circle of anti-air. No, he's got a few fighters, but he doesn't need them. This is going to be a slaughter. Are we ready? Oh, Mike didn't even tell them to attack. They were just moving. So they've lost momentum. They're having to regain it. They are dropping like flies. That is a perfect, if cliched, analogy. And they're done before they can do any damage. This latecomer's like, oh, I'm... And that was the last message that his friends and family ever heard. So I've raided that and I'm off. Going to keep my rather valuable gunships. Take that engineer on the way out. I don't know if he's got anti-air because I've built my radar station, if I remember. Yeah, there. So one effective raid over here, an effective raid here, which could have been more if, like, I think it's worth always just sending some tech bombers to patrol over neutral metal points. But Mike's making an attack now, because killing his bombers is definitely a declaration of war. And these Tech 2 units are just tanky enough that these Tech 1 bombers do not present an immediate threat. And they're only there, really pointlessly because of this ridge, but they are there tactically to defend these 2 tactical missile launchers. Well, semi-tactical, mobile missile launchers. And so these bombers are not... Oh, they have been told to target the missile launchers, which are less tanky than those vehicles, and they are the threat. These have clearly been ordered to go and attack down here, and... Oh no, the bombers are just been told to attack move. It's going to be too late. He doesn't even get... He gets one. And he's probably going to get the other one. Couple of missiles, though, into his base. Oh, it's not quite enough. It's not quite enough. A little bit of a scout there from Dacian. Sorry, I missed it. But this attack from Mike is somewhat ill-fated. Although these hover tanks apparently can get down this slope. That's... Well, maybe they can just get on the edge of this slope and they can't get down it. So there's a little bit of a raid going on there. They don't get the Tech 2 mass extractor. They're focusing on the anti-air artillery. No, he's changed it. He's microing better. No, he's not. He's targeting the defences when he should be targeting the resources, because that's what sets them back. They're not coming out alive and they're not winning him the game. So there's no point in trying to kill defences there, because the defences will just be back up by the time they're there. Now, hoping that Mike's not got anything else, and maybe realising his Tech 1 bombers are losing their relevance, Dinky has sent these guys on their last mission. I think if they targeted these metal extractors earlier, he could have got them and hit Mike quite hard. No. Mike has got some nice resources there, but he's not doing too much. Oh, he's building some tier 3 bots. No, that can't be a tier 3 bomber from a Tech 1 plane, so he's building a Tech 1 bomber. I think you can use them tactically. I mean, they've demonstrated several times how dangerous they can be to terrible defences. Ah, this is my experiment with fighter bombers. So again, I've come up here to disrupt Dacian's ability to have an economy, while... Let's slow this down just like so. Dacian's economy. He's in last position. I've got nearly double his points, but I'm compounding that because I'm playing competitively and tactically, and I'm currently on minus 101 metal. That's an incredible amount of metal to be in negatives. I'll show you what I'm doing in a bit. I don't know what it is, but he knows there are bombers coming up there. Oh no, this is Dacian, sorry. This is Dacian struggling to get back in. But he's also hill stations go. He knows he's behind, so slowing his production down to compensate for that, he's decided is a bad idea, and I think that's a good call. It's a call I would make, because you can use your poor construction to boost your productivity, and I think that's what's going on here. He's trying to throw out an air transport. Cunning. I always like air transports, interesting play. But he's basically put the pedal to the metal and is running on fumes, and has said that's going to have to be enough. Conversely, I'm here. I'm on a pretty good economy, actually. Wow. Well, I'm proud of myself. I've built an air staging beacon, because I remembered they're useful. A second tier 2 power generator. Disappointed in myself. I hate them, because they are inefficient. I do argue that. But over here, quietly, I've got this Tech 3 guy building a Tech 3 Power 1. They are volatile, so this is safer than it being in my base. And at the moment, nobody else knows that anything is going on over there. No one knows. But I heard a laser fire, so let's see what's happening. Ah, this bombing run. So this was my experiment with trying to get fighter bombers to do the latter half of their name. As you can see, that Tech 1 metal extractor is perfectly fine. These fire bombers are not. Like, that was a whole pass where nothing was dropped. And that left me underwhelmed with the idea of fighter bombers as bombers, so they never get used like that again. Nice, that raiding we were talking about with the Tech 1 bombers on the metal extractors. It only takes 3 bombs to take out a metal extractor, 3 accurate bombs. Tech 2, it would take 6, 12. So you need probably, I would say, 10 bombers in a raiding wing to try to threaten a metal extractor in a convincing fashion. Now this is a great example from Dacian of what you can do with minimal resources to harass and harry someone who's got an arguable advantage on you. They've got an early attack on you, they've put you behind, they must be ahead. Even if they're managing their economy terribly, they've got more extractors than you at this stage. So you have to think, what can I do to disrupt that? Oh look, I've got an air transport. It's just going to come in here. I was basically like, I'll replace that if it gets killed, which was a terrible decision, really. On one front, because if I'd put 2 anti-air, like a level 2 anti-air defense there, then, or even 2 of them, or a mixture of tier 1 and tier 2, then it would have put paid to a lot of this harassment that goes on. But even if I'd done that, then like Tech 1 artillery, Tech 2 mobile missile launchers can take that out. It's really fragile. Oh, here's my engineer that could. Been written off as dead. Ooh, nice expansion there. Nice radar station too from Dacian. What's shooting? Oh, it's that Tech 2 thing. So we're just going to have a look here. Can't really see much, but it does cover those 4 extractors. So that's nice. That's nice information to have, to be able to cover. So like if you had even 5 bombers, they could, or even like 3 gunships. Oh, another attempt here from Mike. He's come in, he's got the extractor this time. He saw what Dinky was doing to him and he said, you know what, that's really frustrating. Yep, there was another invisible word in there, but it's gone. It began with F, it had a U in it, but we're not going to say it quite yet. This guy, what a hero. I'm finding the points at which I can threaten the defences without being shot in return. So just harassing people there. This guy's been sent around to deal with it. It's a heavy tank. It's going to take the assault tank when it gets there. It's just really slow. So 2 extractors down. Some mass storage there taken down as well. That was a good raid, especially over such a well-defended base. Like let's be frank there. That is a well-defended base from air. It's like the Rhino that fired. That's some range. You know, stop shooting now, wherever it was. So, coming to protect his vested interest down here. Oh no, it was the fighter bomber. We saw a fighter bomber actually bomb something. I feel... what's the phrase? I feel privileged. Ah! Now, these Rhino heavy tanks are easily going to take those assault tanks. I mean, and they're displaying the Cybran, this slope, protecting both sides of that conflict at the moment. But that Cybran quick-firing, high DPS Gatling laser is extremely potent. It means there's less overkill, so like the Aeon units earlier might have a high alpha strike, but if something is left on 10 hit points, a lot of their damage is wasted by having to make a second shot, whereas the Cybrans do have less of an alpha strike, but it's a much more quick adjustment into so a couple of things going on here. I'm going to slow it down again. It's a quick adjustment to, like, very little firepower is lost when they switch targets. So first of all, we've got a Tech 2 rocket bot here. He's getting a little bit of a force. It's just defensive. It starts warding off the engineers. It protects this area quite well. But Mike has been... I don't know how I'm so far ahead on points. That's ridiculous. But Mike has been very effectively producing those tier 3 land units. And they're really good for the Aeon because they have a personal shield, which means they're very nicely hit run attacks. They get in, they soak some damage on their shield, they kill what they're fighting, and then they get out and they regenerate their shield and they're basically uninjured. We're seeing a quantum power generator here in the middle of his base. That's something I normally do. I was going to say highly risky, but it's also something I normally do. But his resources are trash for the first time, I think, all game. Like absolute trash. That's a lot of negative energy. And that's a substantial amount of negative metal. So if we go back here, we can see that this is going to go one way. That's a lot of harbingers. And it's like... They're still generating their shields there. He might have turned them off to save energy, but I don't think that works. Mike's finally expanded up here, but again, if we go back to Mike, what can he see? That one tech extractor. Like, he thinks these are free. And if they are free, he should go for them. He should just go and poke them with these. Come on, Mike. Up your game. Let's have a quick look at Midge's base, because Midge has quietly been sitting there, not doing anything, sliding up the rankings. You'll notice pretty close to first in points, and hopefully we can go round the circle. So we've looked at Mike, we've looked at Mike, we've looked at a bit of Dinky, but we'll look at Dinky in more detail in a moment. We'll finish down there because that's where the fight is going to be. So Midge is next. Let's have a look at what Midge has done. So we can see he's got a substantial amount of Tech 2 still. He's buffed it a little bit, but he knows he doesn't need it. He also hasn't felt threatened. He's got some Tech 2 anti-air up, not anywhere near as much as a field of death as Dinky Pie, but enough to really put paid to any Tech 2 attack that comes his way. Still, he's got the air and repair pad, which is really important. He's got a Tech 2 and a Tech 3 power generator right next to each other, which is a shame because you'll notice that this has like a fifth of that hit points, and if that goes up, that's probably going up as well. He's got some Tech 2 extractors. Can I double click on them? That'd be really nice. Nope. He's got some Tech 2 extractors. He's been upgrading these ones, so they're all Tech 3 over here. So he's making sure his economy's ticking along. As you can see, he's got the resources. Unusually though, we're not seeing the sheer level of production that I expected to from Midge in this situation. Like, these tier 3 tech factories, are the building engineers? Well, that's building engineers. And I would expect them to be churning out at least heavy Tech 2s, or if not Tech 3s. That should be going to Tech 3. And then he can basically squash anyone. That's a lot of bonus metal. I mean, he's not really building much at the moment, but that's soon to change, I'm sure. Another air staging pad. I don't know if it's worth building to. I suppose it is for logistics, but I don't. Going over here. Now let's talk about what's happening here. That Tech 1 air transport has picked these two tier 2 heavy tanks up, and we spoke about how good tier 2 heavy tanks are for their tier. They punch high. This one's come under attack, I believe, from my point defense, which we'll have a look at in a moment. But they're pretty good. That's like 1,000 hit points. It's a decent shield, nice for hit and runs. A bit slow moving for hit and runs, but hey ho. And they've come from where I didn't expect to be attacked, because there's no ridge there. Aside from that, he's got a bunch of Tech 2 heavies. I like that, Tech 2 heavies as an armed force. They really do trade so well with the assault tanks, because that shield means that the opening volley takes out assault tanks, where the assault tanks do no actual damage to the heavy tanks. They just hit the shield. It's not lasting damage. And then that shield will constantly regenerate a little bit, absorbing a little bit of fire each time. So now that one's died from my point defense. But apart from that, yeah, before we move on, not much else going on here. A couple of mobile shield generators. We've got some things in the works, but he's not really tried to explore up here to get towards Midge, or who he must suspect is Midge. So yeah, he's sending the scout over to get an idea of what my base looks like. Let's spoil it for you all. I've got the scout. I don't know. Yeah, so no, this is a terribly placed defense, because guess what? There's a slope there. But that's in range of my point defense, so I know that I'm doing okay there. Like, I'm going to kill that, whatever it is. But I'm aware that it's come, and we'll see how I react to that. The answer's not well. This might be why I've suddenly jumped up the points so much, though. Sitting over here in this nice quiet area that no one else knows about, and won't know about with radar, thanks to that stealth generator. I have a net gain of 500 energy and 12 metal thus far. Oh, 400 energy and 12 metal. Like, that's quite good. This is when big things start happening for me. That heavy tank, despite being shot at and like by Tech 2 defences, like it's soaking those hits, so it's actually going to get quite close. And annoyingly, I think it takes out some turrets. But in other news, let's see how this has progressed. It has not begun yet, just in time. Some fortifications here from Dinky. I'm not anywhere near an expert on the use of walls, as I said earlier. He's been using them a lot to barricade his units. I don't know how well they work. I don't know how elevation, like minute elevation, works on them. It's like they are. I suppose they're not. Like, oh, hang on. I don't know. I don't know how the minutiae of the elevation works there. Got another rocket bot coming down. I quite like the rocket bots. They've got mild anti-air capabilities. These haven't actually attacked. They're kind of just going back the way they came. Now, why is that? There was a long... I just need to highlight this. A long ongoing discussion about who these points belonged to, in inverted commas. And there is one answer to that, and it's the correct answer. But Dinky said they were his because they were closest to his starting point and he couldn't really go anywhere else. These are still neutral. I haven't made another claim for them just yet. He could have gone for them as well. Probably should have just sent out a Tech 1 engineer just to explore or capture because it's a nuisance. And equally here, he's been fighting Mike for them, but he's not been taking them. So he's putting in all the effort and not getting the reward. Yes, Mike can take them from him and it is a risk, but like Tech 1 engineers cost nothing at this stage in the game. It's 31 minutes in. We should be fine. So we're not going to get to see the glorious Harbinger bots. Oh, that's what's happening. So Mike keeps running out of power, so their shields go down. Nice power shield generator without power, just in case of more of those spicy attacks. Now that heavy tank got a shot or two on the turret. Quite a lot of damage though, considering one heavy tank getting through two. I say two because that's too low to shoot with this elevation, and I think equally this one has been shooting that black mark in the ground there. We won't talk about it. Or we will, because I'm talking about everything that's been done wrong this game. And done right. So over here, I think Dinky's just been scouting, or it might have been what I encountered happening with someone else, where I think it was a one-on-one with Midge, where one of his planes would come in to scout, and then it would get caught in my patrol things, my fighters would go out, he'd be like, no, I don't want to lose my planes, and he'd pull them back, and then my planes would go over his base, then his patrol routes would be interrupted. Yeah. So over here we have a land scout, for some strange reason, and a mobile missile launcher, which makes a lot more sense. And now Dacian is getting some small measure of revenge for what happened to me earlier. I've got nothing to deal with that, because that's going to outrange my Tech 2 defences. This guy's building something. More Tech 2 defences. Because, you know, why fight today's war with... why fight today's war with today's weapons? So yeah, this is going to start nailing into these. This is a worry, because this is quite a nice defensive position. So I think that scout was there to try to... No, he's got plenty of sight. He knows he can get a few things there. But this is quite a nice little hard point that's going to be difficult for him to attack uphill, with the ridge there to defend against direct fire. So I've got relatively few defences, but it's enough that it should be a worry. So these gunships are down here, just to try to clear up these points. I'm going for them with my Tech 1 thing. They're now being dragged all the way back up there to try to take that out. What I should have done is use the fire bombers, but hey ho, learning. So this is a really annoying nuisance, because I can't let him keep doing that, because if he does, then eventually he's going to be able to roll down here. So I take that out, but only after he's taken out one of my Tech 2 turrets, which is really important. Little scout here from Dinky Pie, doesn't last long. Might not even spot that my commander's not in my base. Let's slow it down and... Nope, too slow, because it doesn't trace units. Yeah, so all he sees is that my base is pretty much the same as last time he went there, which doesn't justify my massive jump in points in the last few minutes. No, not +1. No, we must, yes. Now, some raiding from Mike. Ignoring the anti-air there, going straight over the top. Don't know if that's possibly some kind of alliance they had, but it's going to be a nuisance because I've been upgrading these to Tech 2. And they're just going to take them down because there's nothing I can do about it. So I just have to let them fall. Dinky's anti-air there, really helping me out a little bit. Well, it hasn't hit much. Yeah, that's right, I'm complaining about someone's anti-air not defending my resources well enough. Oh, this was a nuisance. Yeah, Dinky was like, oh, you can just right-click to capture things. I was trying to take his engineer so I could build cyber and stuff, but it moved. And it's quicker to capture the extractors than it is to capture the engineers. By the time I was trying to capture it, he would have captured my thing. So I just took the knock, and rather than capturing, I just built my own one. These tier 2 anti-air defenses really struggling here to see this off. And then I remember Mike saying, they're not even attacking you. And Dinky just said, that's not the point. He's building up this force slowly. I mean, let's have another... well, at 40 minutes, we'll have another check on everybody's resources and bases. In fact, no, I'll just do it now. Why not? I've remembered. So we'll start with Dinky. Look at the factories. He's got one land factory still, but he's got 3 air factories. They're all tier 2. He's got good metal. He's got not terrible energy. You can amend energy fairly easily if you've got the metal, and he's got spare metal. So, like, all that needs. I mean, 8-1 solar 8T1 solar extractors are going to make up for that in no time. So that's fine. This still going on. Mike now spitefully saying, well, if you're going to destroy my planes with your fighter bombers, I'm going to take out your point defences. Utterly ridiculously, because that's so unimportant for Mike. I think he knows this is here as well. That's interesting. So if he could get even just one Tech 1 bomber or a fighter bomber to go and deal with it, then that's just hitting Mike just a little bit, just nettling him slightly. So yeah, like, not really moved forward. He's producing or produced some units, but he's only got the one land factory, so he's going to struggle to really represent a force, and he's going to struggle to produce one at short notice. Going around the circle now. Mike, loads of energy, no metal. Standard Mike situation. I say that like he wasn't really good for resources before, but these guys aren't doing anything. They should just be building. Oh no, Mike. Look at that. So that's double sympathy, and it's still minus 93 energy for one metal. Just build Tech 3 ones, Mike. They're volatile, but nobody cares. Oh, Mike's built a strategic missile defense because someone said, hey, did we... this happens all the time. Did we say no nukes? And everybody goes quiet as they frantically scramble to build a strategic missile defense. So that's the result there. But yeah, Mike, this is bad. This is 8. Actually, that might be more efficient. I might just have to eat my words. 8 metal for 800 energy. That might be more efficient, you know. I might stand corrected on my cynicism about tier 2 metal generators. We'll look into it. They're certainly smaller and don't explode. So Midge, he's secured his hard point here. He's done the same here. This one looks a bit vulnerable, but again, like, he's just basically been an observer all game. He's heard me annoying Dacian. Dacian at this point has definitely been heard to annoy me. He knows Mike and Dinky are scratching at each other's eyes a bit, so he's feeling pretty safe. The exact phrase he used was Turtler's Paradise. So you can see him building more factories now. That's teching up. This is coming out. He's building a shield generator to cover himself. He's had a pretty easy game, and I think everybody needs to remember that for next time when we play, that he needs to be hit early and then we'll see him suffer a little bit more. His resources, just view his resources, plus more metal than some people are generating. In fact, yeah, well, there you go. He's got plus 20. This is such an unfortunate position. And I almost felt guilty then for a moment, but I reminded myself that he did use heavy Tech 3 artillery to remove me from the game last time. So, sympathy is minimal, Dacian. He's expanding his production. He's just forcing it through. He doesn't care that he's got no metal. If he's got enough engineers, then he can force things through at an acceptable rate. And multiplication is better than addition. I mean, let me explain that. If you've got one tech factory that's producing things at full capability, it's still going to produce units slower than 8 factories that are producing them with being forced through by engineers. So, like, it's not quite as good. I think it would be an exchange of about, you get 8 units out of the 8 factory every time you get 5 or 6 out of the 1. But when you're in a situation where you've suffered enough raids, he's not bothered rebuilding these. He can't expend time or resource. Again, really, it's something we should all do. We should replace our mass extractors as soon as possible. But yeah, so he's suffering a lot, but he's still trying to force through and push into things. And he's made some fairly effective attacks on me. He's still having an impact on the game. There's like an effective unit there that could raid quite well. He's down, but he's not out. None over here. Plus 13. So... no, the Tech 2 ones are more efficient. I feel like a mug now. Thank you, Mike. Things are only going to get more terrifying in the future, hopefully. What's this, you say? A Tech 3 strategic bomber? Don't they drop small nukes? The answer is no. But they do drop some extremely dangerous firepower. And my economy is nicely balanced. This is going to turn into a web of resources hidden under the arc of a shield generator, or about a dozen, you'll see later on. My main base has been expanded to include a staging beacon. I've got an additional air factory now, because I'm trying to churn out those strategic bombers. That was the strat. Get resources, get strategic bombers. It's basically what I did to Dacian in the early part of the game. And I'm just planning to bomb people into the Stone Age. I've just elevated the efficiency at which I do it. But Tech 3 strategic bombers are outrageously expensive to build. So that is, they are actually minus 15 metal and minus 750 energy. That is a ridiculous amount for the amount of time. And they take like a minute and a bit to produce. So it's quite a heavy investment to get them, but they are so strong, so powerful. Speaking of replacing metal extractors that have been lost, not replaced here, not replaced here, these still not replaced, that's not been replaced, these aren't replaced. Midge needs to get his finger out and take these. Like, just take one engineer, send it, shift click it, get a timer, it'll be done in 15 minutes, who cares, it's gone, it's done. Over here, this continued story. Mike, how hard can he hit? So Midge is on loads of metal, isn't it? Yeah. But if he just comes down here, sweeps through that Tech 1 point defense and takes them out, it's a nuisance. And it will still impact Midge's ability, because if he upgrades them, they increase in potency. And if they're there, then they can be upgraded. Whereas if they're taken out, they can't be upgraded. So it's not just gains that you get, it's not just that plus 2 metal, it's the potential improvement to the Tech 3 version, which is plus 27. Well, it's plus less than that if you don't have things around it. Plus 22. Possibly plus less than that. He's just on metal storage around it. That's not helpful for my calculations. What about in his base? Yeah, this is a bit of a distraction, isn't it? No, he's done it there as well. So it's about plus 20, I would say, from the base one. And so that at the moment is plus 6, but it could be plus 60. So all Mike has to do is just be like, whoop, and Mike knows them on the map because they're metal points. Like, Mike can see them as an objective to take. He knows that there's one there, he knows there's 2 others there, and there's this one here he can check. And like the quick response is going to have to be aerial. And as we know from looking at Midge's stuff, his aerial capabilities are mainly defensive. I say mainly because we have seen the fighter bombers do something aggressive. this game, but as yet, not done. So Mike is now building an Omnisensor we saw here. Whoop-de-doo. He's not building any endgame stuff, not game winning, and in honesty, apart from these, which is fairly good, he's trusting on this buffer, this spatial buffer, to protect him. Whereas, like, I mean, these are Tech 1 defences, but they're an early warning system. There's some Tech 1 anti. Why, Mitch? Why? It's 40 minutes in. Who's going to throw Tech 1 stuff at you now? Well, me, probably in future. There's no harm in admitting that. But, why not? If you can build Tech 1, just build Tech 2. It's more likely to survive attacks. That's got 1,200 hit points. That's going down to a decided, like, 20 bombers will take it. And its friends. Point defences would be nice on this ridge. Another early warning system, bit of anti-air to defend that, because while that's getting defended, this is very... What's going on? More Tech 1 bombers, having a little exploratory look. And once more, Dinky's air defence says, nope. Oh no, this was the game where our patrol routes just overlapped very slightly so the fighters could detect each other, and it kept drawing all of our air defence away from our base. It was awkward. You'll notice I've got mainly Tech 1 air defence. I'm building some gunships because I like gunships. I have to use them more for raiding than I do for actually taking out bases, especially after this. Building up my strat bombers there. What are we building down here? Nothing. No excuses there. Am I suffering for resources? Not especially. Just distracted. So we're seeing an offense here, and now we're going to see the difference between Tech 3 and Tech 2, because those are all Tech 2. Yeah. So the rocket bots, opening volley, barely scratches that shield, and then he gets in, the assault tanks are firing, but that opening volley was basically completely tanked. And these are getting wrecked. Yeah, that's it. These cyber and fight bombs are so good. Smike's not getting anti-air, so these guys are doomed. But you can see there... Man, these cyber and fire bombers, they're so much better than... I'll show you what happened with the UEF ones later. And we've seen how mine failed too. These are amazing. They're like gunships. Except they have to do passes rather than stay around. Can they get down there? They've spider bots, but I don't think they have. No? So they're not going to get into the base. So that tier 2 army that was basically ignored, like overrun, was shown to be redundant. And this Tech 3 army without anti-air defence has been shown to be useless as well. Almost takes out a Tech 2 Massive Striker. Targeted the right thing though, so good work there, Mike. Here we go. Little scout goes in. Just having a little nestle, just having a little look around, see what he can see. And now, look, I'm going to slow this down while we talk about it. So, Mike has come into Dinky's base and been like, I'm going to wreck you, with, quite frankly, enough to kill a commander. That's 15, I think, Tech 3 assault bots. That can take a commander. The land defences here are nothing, but the fighter bombers have wrecked that. And then, because Mike had no anti-air, or an air escort, Dinky has said, you know what, I'm going to send my guys in. They did really well, and I don't blame him because that was an impressive display. So he's sending them in. On the face of it, that seems like a bad idea, because if we look at Dinky... No, that's Mike. If we look at Dinky, he doesn't know what Mike's base has got. He doesn't know what the anti-air defences are. He doesn't know what the air web is around it. We know, because we are all-knowing observers, that the air web around it has not changed since the very early part of this game when Mike achieved best air web defence and then sat on his laurels and has not... But he's not been attacked either, is the other thing. And that, I think, is because Dinky has sort of struggled to maintain an economy being stuck in this crater. And I've reclaimed these. He could have sent engineers up to capture them. It's difficult, but it's the kind of stuff that can really pay dividends. Over here you can see the trade going on, but it's much less exciting than the fact that Denki is about to go on what looks like an incredibly successful raid. But if we zoom in, not too far, we're seeing some air superiority fighters. Now, the advantage of these fighter bombers is they are fighter bombers. So not only do they bomb effectively, as we've seen, and I'm so jealous of, but they fight in the air, and they're tier 2, so they're not tragic. While these are roughly twice as good, there are roughly 10 times as many. So let's see what happens. I don't know how effective they are against commanders, but take one air defense, doesn't care. Absolutely wrecked that power plant. Swats those flies down. And he's just going for eco. Such a good targeting mechanism. Hovers over the base briefly. And I think it's the fact that they're not gunships and they have to do these passes. Oh, the strategic missile defense goes down. The shield gen goes down. This is a big hit. I didn't realise this happened. Just having a quick zoom out. Nothing else interesting is going on. This is big. Oh, it's so close. One more pass needed to ruin the base. But it doesn't quite happen. And he was going for the commander. I hope you watch this, Dinky, and you see this, and you think, no, I can't believe it, because that goes up. This is gone. This is gone. That's gonna probably get damaged. These are all gone. Like, whew, you set Mike back, but you didn't. It was just the sheer number of air defences. Mike's got a couple of tier 2s, and that's what Dinky didn't know. Like, Dinky didn't know. You could sing it if you wanted. So he's hurriedly repairing this because, like, he knows if that goes, like, it's not tagged volatile for amusement purposes. But yeah, and then Mike's like, "Oh, that was the entirety of Dinky's airweb." Well, it was, but of course Dinky's got 3 tier 2 air factories, one of which is admittedly upgrading, 2 of which are upgrading. 3 of which are upgrading. But he built some. The important thing is he built some planes first, and he's still got all these anti-air turrets. Like, Mike knows there are anti-air turrets there. Oh man, that superiority fire was playing havoc down there. He's gonna die, but might have taken out a fire beforehand. Who knows? But yeah, Mike knows there are AA defences there. He knows these T1 bombs are a waste of time. And that was a spite attack, pure spite. Maybe a scouting measure to make sure. I'm sure Mike will make the claim. Just to make sure nothing else can come and hurt me afterwards. And I think if Dinky hadn't been upgrading here, he could have just produced more fighter bombers and gone in and doubled down on the economic damage he dealt. So that was incredibly tense. I didn't know it had been that serious, as is the way with free-for-alls. But Mike must be like, yep. Oh, he's upgraded his commander so he can produce tier 3 things. And immediately is like, yep, we're getting some of them. And the thing about tier 3 ones is they're really good against single targets, but they're not so good against large groups. So tier 3 air defense is better against tier 3 air, but worse against tier 2 air, because you can amass tier 2 air much more, and you need to be like spamming out that flak. So this is the beginning of another long exchange. So I've gone up, and Dacian pulls this guy off, but doesn't notice that this guy was actually coming down. So he comes down. Probably writes him off. He's a tier... No, he calls him back, but not before one of my bombers has been like, oh, wait. Oh, no, maybe not. So again, Mike just nettling Dinky. No, it did take the bait over here. Did take the bait. Nettling Dinky, being a bit annoying. He's not really getting anything out of it, though. It's just scouting information, I guess. So that guy goes over there. And I think I decide to send him over there to die, so none of them get, and I don't have to micro all of my fighters again. My airweb looking distinctly pathetic, if I'm honest. I've got some tactical missile defences. No strategic missile defences yet. I didn't take the unique warning very well. Building up these a little bit, but not too much. I'm still plugging into resources. If you can produce 1, you should be producing 6. That's my mentality in this game. Except when it comes to experimental units. Another game where I don't build experimental units thus far. 4 Tech 3 air factories now. It's getting pretty tense. I'm going to speed it up for a little spell, just because we're all in a little bit of recovery here. Midge still happy in his little paradise. He's got his Omni sensor. Just want to have a look at what the Omni sensors can see. Oh no, I have to hit Midge first, don't I? Any second now. There we go. So that can see. I can see into my base, but there's literally nothing to see. So, poor him. Mike finished one, but I don't know if it's still up. No. Sadly not. It was a big hit. Still a big hit. Do I have one? So yeah, they don't know about my resource base down here. I've got an Omni sensor. I can see basically everything apart from this mystery part of the map, which is of massive benefit to me. Does Dacian have one? Strain my eyes. Can't see one. So I'm going to assume not. I'm going to put this back up to +3. So we're on like a kind of recovery, licking our wounds. I haven't been attacked for a long time in a meaningful or threatening manner. So yeah, the tactical missile launchers went up because of that rocket bot thing. And later on, Dacian comes by. I think this might be it, actually. Oh no, he's just taking my extractors. What a tactical player. And he comes by and he's like, oh, I see you built a whole lot of defences up there to stop me dropping units and attacking you from that ridge that I can't get to without air. And I admitted to PTSD at the time. Like, I didn't want it to happen again. They're still doing nothing, Mike. Look at this. It's still there. He's not upgraded them though either, Midge. Like, on the flip side of that criticism, why are these still Tech 1? Why are they still Tech 1 with the resource might that you've got? Yeah, sure, argument is he doesn't need them, right? But he does. But he does. It's a heavy artillery installation. Can we see how long range that's going to be? Everywhere. Everything on the map. He's just quietly turtling up. This is why you shouldn't trust turtles. I mean, I feel like I'm sort of safe with that ridge there. We'll find out whether or not that works later, if I'm still in the game. If that Tech 3 artillery's up at the time. But we're getting on towards the hour mark, and that's about how long these games take, so exciting stuff has to happen. I mean, what have I got here? Not that many strategic bombers. What's going on over here? A mass fabricator. I know exciting stuff happens over there. Spoilers. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. What's happening down here? Dinky's finally taking these extractors. He knows Mike's behind, but look, what's this big green dot? I think we know, because we're all familiar with Mike's tactic from last game. It's not a bad one. I don't want to fault it. It's very hard. You have to get in early. He's taken hits to his economy. He's tried, honestly tried, other techniques to get into Dinky's base. It's not his first protocol, but he's just building a lot of these now. One strategic bomber flies over my base. Just to have a quick raid. We can see here my airweb is woefully lacking. So much so that this strategic bomber can take out the things attacking it. Do I change my tack? No. Strat bombs. That's it. That was this game. Strat bombs. So while Midge might have said if anyone rolled into his base at any time, basically in this game, he would have lost. Look at my base. I'm still first for points by like 6,000, 7,000. God knows why. But I've started churning. We can already see a tier 3 superiority fighter coming out to play. And now Dice is getting those strategic bombers. He's taking out my resources. He's doing those little raids. And those are what matter. I don't know what that guy's doing. Oh, and so Mike's throwing in some tier 1 bombers. Maybe just to keep Dinky on his toes. But they get absolutely annihilated because they're tier 1 against tier 3 stuff. As a quick nose from Midge. Quick nose. Tier 3 anti-air. Quick nose with the strategic bomber, but this much more terminal than previously expected. Baiting them into the tier 3 bays, tier 3 anti-air. If that was the tactic, it was very nice. Very well done. And to Mike's credit, like, this Tsar is now up and it's building an escort, and Mike's churning out ground units as well in case the Tsar doesn't make it. Oh, so patrol routes have overlapped again. Planes have been dragged in. My planes are being dragged out. That's not what I want because I know strategic bombers are happening down here. So I try to drag them back in. Doesn't work quite as well as I'd like. Or it works better than I'd like, I guess. But then they try to leave, and so my guys try to follow, and I have to tell them not to. This guy escapes that order. I think he gets abandoned. So things are hotting up. Things are hotting up. Might stop producing them. He's got some lots of air transports. I want to know what he was thinking with them. Maybe dumping them somewhere. In fairness, his Harbingers could probably storm down there quite convincingly. Or if he drops them here, there's nothing to stop them getting into this base. Like, that looks like a hard point, but it's got a tactical missile launcher. Maybe that would be enough. God knows what that is. Scouting? Like, are air transports heavy scouts now? Who knows? Oh, so this is moving around. He's got 8 things in it already. Tried and tested. Mike knows it. So he's sending these in here. Nice little raid. Takes out some early anti-air as well, which is pretty important. And there's not much the defences can do against them. Like, Harbingers are good for raids. Now, if this was late game, he could do that and then get back out, and he's still got those Harbingers, and he's lost nothing. But he doesn't care. That's not what he's here for. He's for these tier 3 air defences. Well, it would be if these Harbingers could hit for crapola. Oh, that's sad. It was a nice idea. It was a good plan. But it comes to naught. So we're still waiting for the heat to happen. Very quiet game like this. We know well, we know attack bombers or fighter bombers are pretty good. So let's slow this down now. Back to normal. We saw the T3 strategic bombers go in. A little bit of a nose. He sent out this cloud of air to try to attract all of the anti-air fire. I don't think it's good enough. Because frankly, look at the web of air around here in these superiority fighters. This Tsar is being destroyed. Happened to Dinky last game. He's not going to let it happen again, or he thought he wouldn't. His commander is on this side of the base though. He's not under a shield generator. The laser warms up. But the Tsar gets taken out. But it lands on the commander. And takes him out. The double whammy that is the Tsar. Would have been good in slow motion, wouldn't it? But it lands on the commander, crushing him, removing Dinky from the game. Which is a shame because like it took out the Tsar, but air defences need to be further forward from your base. Because otherwise they're attacking things that are literally already over your base. So there's a brief bit of discussion. We're all a bit shocked that something has happened. But in my heart of hearts, I know the Tsar's down. Think he's confirming that over the Discord call. I think I ought to have to stream at this point. And I know Mike's building another one of them. And I know that this is a pathetic attempt to defend against the Tsar. Like, absolutely A1 pathetic. So, I've got to do something else. And I wonder what it could be that I do, because you don't need an experiment. I am building the experimental unit. I'm also building more resources. Always more. Never be happy. I can't do what Midge does, which is just be happy with my production level. I must be able to produce more stuff. So, I've got a couple of air factories over here now, I think. I've just got the one. But I'm churning out a couple of the scouts too. I know I'm on a timer. And we can see the timer. Do I get there in time? Is that strap bomb wing going to be enough? Who knows? Let's slow it down a bit now. Let's have a look at endgame bases. So we know what I've got. I've got the strap bombers. I've got this web of power that is completely invisible thanks to these stealth generators. Like, it's very safe. All I could say to improve it would be to build, like, more stealth generators and factories on this side. I should possibly have just gone land in my base, in fact, for production early on. And then moved all of my air production over to this place under the stealth generators out of sight. Yeah, and then people will not be expecting me to have air power, so they won't be so worried. Mike's late game base, we saw it getting wrecked earlier. It's not really recovered from then, but Mike's recovery has not been in the form of his base. He's just gone to producing tier 3 land units and a second Tsar, which is very close to done. So, check my resources. They're pretty good, aren't they? Look at them. Who's jealous of that plus 4,000 metal? We're down on metal here. But again, Mike's just powering through at this stage. Recovering his base is going to take more time than it would to power through. And he's made that decision. Whether or not that's true, I can't tell you. I'm not a human calculator. But yeah, so he's expanded here. He's still not touched these, but he's got an omnisensor now. We know because he can see all of this stuff. But he can't see my base. Don't know where the omnisensor is, though, to click on it. Well, if you can see the omnisensor, let me know where it is in the comments, because I can't. Haha, no worries. So it just reaches my base. He thinks he's fine knowing that. But there's this stuff. The ASMR strategic bomber wing. Gliding in. Yeah, but he knows there's all of this stuff here. He's got these units. He can just poke it. It'll be fine. Midge's late game base. We've had a couple of flashes of Midge's base, because I haven't talked about him too much. But let's have a look at what he's got here. He's still not on my points level. And he must be thinking, I have 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like, that's nearly 100, well, like 80 to 100 tier 3 heavy assault bots. And I'm still 30,000 points ahead of him. Midge must be thinking, that's bad news. What am I going to do about it? But he's got, like, a web of shield generators, which are nice against raids. A concerted attack doesn't save you from things. Yeah, sorry, the shield generators don't save you from a concerted attack. It looks pretty nice, but no one's been nettling him. So the tier 3 heavy shield generators at this point are just to stop air attacks, hopefully. And they are good in combination with air defences under the shield hub and around your base, because that gives your base a little more longevity while the air defences do their work. But he does have this web slightly outside, which is good. Ideally, I think you want it wider, because then you catch things earlier. before they have a time to drop their actual bombs. Which here, things are dropping their bombs pretty soon to when they're being targeted. It's got some Tech 3 stuff in. It's pretty solid, but I wouldn't say it's immune. It's pretty solid though. Like, you can't raid that with there. Ground, you could come in this way, this way. This is ripe for being knocked on the head, and he's got nothing to really deal with that if you go in that way. Don't ask how I'd do it. I'd probably start here and move units around like that. Who cares? Doesn't matter. It's not happening in this game. Now, Dacian's got an omnisensor, and he can see there's some stuff down here. This disappoints me. But let's have a look at his base. He's building gunships, lots of gunships, and I like gunships. Got some Tech 2 transports too. That could be spicy. We've got a nice little mixed Tech 2 army that's slowly being improved. And he's building up his resources. He's in positives now. And he's in positives building more, which is important. Whilst also supporting all of his factories, except this one, which is Larry No Mates. And this one, which is Leslie No Mates. But he's recovered now, finally, and we've seen how long it takes for a recovery from an early hit. So that serious hit Mike had, think about how long he would have had to play recovery if he hadn't been pumping his resources into things. So, there are the potential there for a lot. And these guys, because there's no anti-air in there, if they came into the base, they'd be rolling along down here, but he would see them coming. He could wait till they're about here, out of air defense. These guys come in, there's 30? I'll say 30. 25, 30 of them. They might be Tech 3, but there's nothing they can do about those flyers. So, yeah, it's a pretty good mobile defense there in the form of gunships. Not great on the attack, perhaps, because they're not too hardy, especially against this web, which Dacia knows they've got. But hey, what can you do? And we see my base. It's now just air factories. And I mean just air factories. This entire game, I've not built a single other factory. I've been committed. I'm halfway through that. And I've got this massive hidden resource field down here. So I'm sending my air scouts over. So what does Mike see? If I click on Mike, what does Mike see? Mike sees some planes coming over and he's like, oh, what's this? What's going on? He can't really do much about it. He hasn't got much of an air web, but he's got a fairly good level of tier 3 stuff. That guy dies, and by that time, I've already right-clicked on his commander. Because I spotted him, and I was like, you know what? These guys, there's 20 of them? 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 22, 25? And as soon as I saw his commander, that's it. And I also know that I need to do it fast. So, in they come. They're a bit slow. And ideally, I should have had these en route first, so that they could have come in where their air defense wasn't completely undistracted. But now these come in after Mike's like, oh, that wasn't very good. And I was like, no, just a bit of a nose, Mike. And as we can see, the air defenses. The air defences over the base were not enough to stop the strategic bombers. So their defences were shooting at them here, they were dying here, but the bombers were dropping here. So they all got in, and Mike's out of the game. And afterwards he was like, that was really good. The scouts came in first, and they wrecked him. Now these guys, I think Midge was a bit well, Mike's already killed one player, that means he's got the resource to kill another one. So he was moving them that way anyway. But where do they go now? All my strategic bombers are dead, by the way. That is a one-way trip, like most of my attacks. So I've got to rebuild them before I nuke somebody else. And I'm already doing that during the time that I'm attacking on that bombing run. I've just picked up the 25 I had. I know it works. I worked out the maths in advance. I'm proud of that. You need 20 to kill a commander in one run, and you want to err on the side of caution, and ideally have 50, because some of them are no doubt going to be shot down. So they've disappeared off my omnisensor there, but we can have a look at where they are. They're going the very long way around, because while Midge is a very good defensive position, it's so hard to attack him. You've got to... to get his land units down, they've got to go all the way around here. I imagine him right-clicking when they were here, right-clicking here, and then they all went, oh, okay, see you later, boss. And he's like, wait, what? No, I don't. Okay, fine, I don't have a choice. You may have noticed, though, that there was a blue dot. There was a fat boy. So we've got a little bit of experimentation. And then this starts to appear on my radar, and it starts to appear on Dicey-Own's radar as well. It appeared on his earlier. And at this point, Dyson says, oh, so is this a time when we just throw everything at him? And I was like, I don't really have too much right now. Bit of a bluff, but also I did need more time to get more strat bombers up, because that's not going to kill someone's commander, especially when they've got this amount of air, which I know he's got. I can see that. So what's Dicey-Own got there? He's confident of attacking a base and some gunships. Quite a lot of gunships. It's pretty impressive. It's not a snake of tier 3 heavy assault bots, but, you know, it's not bad, and they could do a serious damage to that snake if you flew him over now. Then he's got this tier 2 clump, which is, as we know, completely redundant now, because we're in Tech 3, deep in Tech 3, an hour into the game. But he's got a Galactic Colossus with 100,000 hit points. 100,000. That is 5 times as many as his commander. I didn't know he had that. So he's sending in stuff to see how it goes. We've got this fat boy coming down, but that's like, it's not a combat vehicle in the same way. Now what I wish I'd done is sent what strategic bombers I had over onto that snail trail. Just any one of those bombers, superiority fighters, to see if there was anti-air, because there isn't. And if I'd sent bombers now, I would be in a very strong place, although they would be vulnerable to this counterattack if he wanted to move it out. I think I know Midge well enough as a player to say he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have risked, if I'd sent 5 strategic bombers over in his army, sending out any of those guys, because he would have been hesitant to reduce his air cover. And so now they've got to go through that turret line, which they would have mashed through. Like, it's a tier 3 assault, of course they're going to mash through tier 2 defences. A tier 2 assault of that size would mash through defences. And I'm still desperately trying to churn out strategic bombers. I want this to be finished as well, but it's not going to happen. So we're going to speed it up just until a response is made. Look, they're getting quite far. They're killing those workers. This might be the point at which the alliance is broached again. Now I'm like, I can't send my stuff. I've got to defend myself, because this is going to wipe me out. I have no doubt Midge will find like my little hidden resource field, and there it goes, guys. So I decide to cut my gains and throw my strategic bombers into the air. I line them up and I set a patrol route so they go up and down here. I'm building some gunships too, because they're nice, quick, anti-ground forces. But look, what's this coming in? That tier 3 artillery. And so I send this guy down, like, and there's no... I was looking for fat boys, actually. I thought there'd be fat boys with this assault. And the fact there isn't, the fact there's no anti-air, I'm suddenly like, I'm going to survive this. This I don't care about. He can nail this base all I want. I've got an experimental bomber and all the resources I could want there. So I send my air to just try to flatten that base. At the same time, the Galactic Colossus starts marching out. And I think when Midge saw that coming to attack his base, so Midge can see this one thing moving towards his base. He's reached the unit cap, but most of it's in this bombing run and this army, sorry, this fighter field and this army. He can see that I've got strategic bombers still. He can see I've got gunships. I think he knows that that's not going to work out. This isn't dying to his long-range artillery bombardment. Like, he gets in my base, but I've got yet more gunships. I've got tier 2 defences. These things are taking hits. They're only land units, so while they can be tough, they're not going to be indestructible. And the Galactic, we've got some gunships going in here just to have a... Oh no, they were transports. They've dropped off some tier 3 assault bots. Oh! Then the gunships come in as well. I mean, the gunships are fairly unimportant because of all this fighter cover. But like we can see the UEF bombers confused about how to open their bomb bay doors. Like they don't know, and then suddenly, wait, is that a grey dot? My army is ruined. It is annihilated by that aerial cover, and there is a galactic colossus stomping into my base behind a serious number of tier 3 assault bots. Ah, look, they're dropping. We can see them dropping. Maybe they just need a little. They need to do that run. They need to wind up. So they're making headway. Like the first line is breached. His commander's on the other side of the base. But like the bots aren't being microed. They're not. That's a lot of fire. They're not. Oh, they are now. Are they? I don't know. I think the bots are all dead now. But we've got more coming in. We've got the Galactic Colossus, which has taken such a pounding. It can't get into the base though. This is why I hate the Colossus. I think it's god-awful trash, and in the right scenario. Like if he marched it all the way around here with a stealth field generator, which I don't think they don't get, and gone into the base this way, or transported it. Just transported it like over to here. Then it would have been terrifying. But as it is, like, it's half dead. It's surrounded by tier 3 bots. It's got no real hope. That frontal laser is terrifying, but he should have been building Zars. But it is volatile, so not volatile enough, it seems. He's pounding it with the tactical missile launchers as well. So the brave last stand of Dacian is made, and it's not bad. And then this tier 3 artillery is still pounding my base, but I'm safe. Like, this is me down here. This is me. So I'm not too worried. And I've only got, what, 5, 10, 12, 13, 14, maybe 15 bombers. But then these come in. He decides it's time. And I'm not so worried about the gunships. Like, I'll take them down with my tier 3 air cover. What I'm worried about is these superiority fighters. But I also see that his web has utterly disintegrated around his base. Because I can't see them on the floor, I don't think. Or at least if I do, they look like land move units. So these all turn up in my base and they get to start fighting the anti-air. And that's important to Midge, because he wants these gunships to survive, to do real damage to the base. But what's important to me is that my strategic bombers do not get killed. So they go off. They disappear. And this guy actually gets pulled back from trying to destroy the strategic bombers. And this base is still, if we slow it down so I can do this, he still doesn't know it's here. There is nothing to oh no, what's happened? What's happened? So he gets visual confirmation. But it's these things here give me away. If I hadn't done that, if I hadn't had that anti-air cover in there, then it would have been, I might have made it out. And then something happens that's utterly horrific. So this isn't even, I've only got like 3 things building it. I'm sending them round the side. Sneaky work. And he's wrecking my base. Like, he had more anti-air, he had more superiority fighters. You ready to find out what happens? This counts as being built in the air. So even though it's on the ground, his anti-air superiority fighters can take it out. And it gets wrecked. Like I don't have the defense, the air defense to fight that off anyway. I am now ruined. So it comes down to whether or not these guys can kill off my commander. Is this a distraction? No. Because I know that what I can do is get a right click. Just one simple, easy right click. 14 bombers. I have 14 strategic bombers that made it out of my base. And I've got to find his commander. And I'm bringing them over now, so they've got time. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? I've got to find him. And I see him just before the end. And they're all dead. And then, so Midge has seen these fly over his base, and he's like, whoa, no, that is not good. And this, everything, the stragglers. I'm going to slow it down here. The stragglers come over, and there's a lot of stragglers. They're all those tier 2 ones. But they're already bombing. They're already bombing. Look at that. A nice slow-mo. And now we find out if it's enough. Can 14 strategic bombers, a desperate attack run, annihilate a commander in a single pass? I thought it was 20. If I'd had 20, I'd be certain. No, not quite. He gets out on 1800 hit points and all my bombers are dead. That is my last stand. But 1800 hit points. Midge went very quiet during that. Because that's what happens when you think everything that I am has come to naught. He realised just how vulnerable he was. Had he been under a shield generator, it would have been a couple of thousand more hit points. But if I'd had the full complement of 20, if I'd only had the full complement, it would have been done. He would have gone. I would have been safe, and then I could have mopped this up. But as it is, Midge is mopping this up now. There's nothing left in Daision's base. Where's his commander gone? He's over here. He's building another Galactic Colossus. What a boy! He's had his life ruined. He's had his game has been tragically raided. He's been pushed back, and he's still attacked the most powerful military player. He's nettled the second most powerful military player, and he's he's still building a second Galactic Colossus, even though his base is being systematically destroyed. Now here we see the UEF attack bombers getting their initial pass, which is apparently what they need to get a target lock or something dumb like that on their target, because it meant no bombs were dropped. And over here, Midge is distracted. He knows he's got to try to kill me off before more strategic bombers come. But I mean, frankly, I've got one air factory, I think, now, so he's actually really safe from me. But he doesn't care. He's PTSD'd. That buys Dacian some time here to try to build that Galactic Colossus, and I didn't know that was happening. Those gunships, they get wiped out. They don't have the swarm cover that they need. But he's got sight on me. I know that. He knows that. And that tier 3 heavy artillery knows that. And this is all going to go up in flames at some point. So I get the hell out of Dodge. Again, like it's ripping into his base. Look at this concerted effort to build that AA gunship. And Midge here is doing what I would highly recommend players do not do. You haven't found his commander. You don't know how long you're going to be able to hold that force. You don't know what else he's got. Well, you've got this now, so that's helped. But more important than any of this is now he's moving. He's trying to find the commander. He's there. It flashes on his screen. How long does it take for him to turn around? Oh, 12,000 hit points. Things have stopped moving. The fat boy's coming in. This is a dramatic last stand. Oh, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. It's hidden there. It doesn't appear on the radar. He's seen the commander. All of these droids are like, no, build the Colossus. That shield generator buying him a few more seconds. Is it going to pay off? There's a dozen Tech 3 heavy assault bots. They're just standing there. They're not being microed. They're attacking, and then, oh no! They killed themselves. They killed themselves. There's 6 of them now. I mean, it's all for pride for Dacian. Oh, he's microing now. He's like, no, we cannot let the Colossus. We cannot let that Colossus stand. Oh, and until that fat boy turns up, it was tight. But the extra firepower from that fat boy, whew, takes him out. Now I'm going to put this on plus something, because realistically, I can't fight that heavy artillery. Let me show you what I've done. I've lost a lot of my resource fields. I've lost everything, really. And so he sends these down here to try to scout for my commander. Because I told Mike, after last game, I said, let me show you how you play hide and seek. Blam! Shield generator. But I run out of resources. I run out of power. That's a serious thing. Am I trying to come back? No. What I am trying to do is frustrate Midge for as long as possible. If I built this further down, it would have been perfect. I've got two strat bombers. And then they come down to where my old base was, and I know I'm on a timer to get this stealth generator up, just to frustrate him. And what I have to do is, if I slow it down, I have to bring my the power consumption of that shield generator down to the level of power that I can actually produce. And I can't bring my stats up. Well, basically that's my game plan. It's not that interesting. So I've got to try to, and I think I needed 6. I needed 5 Tech 1 power generators, 6 Tech 1 power generators to get that stealth field generator up and working to a level where I would be invisible. Then asked what my game plan was after that. It was basically camp there and see how long it took Midge to guess where I was with the heavy artillery cannon. So I turn it off for extra resources, extra resource goodness. I turn it back on, but it's still not working. I need one more. And I'm done. I'm stealthed. So he cannot find me except by visual contact. They walk past, and I'm fine. It's a sad day, considering the might I had earlier, but I'm just like, I'll wait. I want to wait till my resources refill, and then I can burn them through to get more resource generators up. Because that's a Tech 3? Yeah, Tech 3 engineer. We can do some things with Tech 3 engineers. I think at this point my commander might have some upgrades as well. I've got the engineering suite upgrade at this point, so... And then he's like, I've got to find him. He can't have gone far. He's a fucking commander. And then he found me. And then there is only one thing to do in this scenario. Mike's watching. What I've actually done at this point is press Control K. So I've denied Midge 50,000 points. And I'll explode in a glorious explosion. And that's the end of the game. Another victory for Midge, because he was left alone. Pretty dramatic ups and downs, swings and roundabouts. The conflict between Mike and Dinky was epic. Some tactical raids, both sides here. Midge just got to camp and build his tier 3 artillery. Which is, quite frankly, more offensive than nuclear missiles, because you can't build anti-Tech 3 artillery. You can build anti-nuke missiles. But I'll leave that up to different playgroups to decide. I hope you enjoyed what I hope was a more descriptive and dramatic retelling of that account, that free-for-all. And I wish you all good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you watch this. Stay happy and stay safe.